In today's episode of the Pathmo Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Lorena Martínez, and she's hailing over from the team at Parabol. And Parabol is a free tool to run basically engaging and effective agile meetings in real time or asynchronously. And today we want to figure out what Parabol is all about in detail and how Lorena is thinking about growth for the company. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe give us a quick overview. What is Parabol all about in your own words?
Perfect. So we are, as you said, an agile meeting toolkit that helps remote teams and hybrid teams have better meetings for them to run on time, on point, with everyone's input. What we're aiming with Parabol is that every meeting that people go to is inclusive. People get to connect with each other. Especially because we think that meetings have gained like this negative connotation over time. Like meetings today are equals to wasting time or overworking because we're constantly in meetings. And we actually believe that people are able to do their best work when work feels meaningful to them. And in order to make that work meaningful, people need to establish trust between each other. And we think this is something that meetings are great for. So we don't want people to have pointless meetings. We want people to have meetings they actually want to go to. So that's actually our mission and what we're trying to achieve with our platform.
Makes a lot of sense. So, which types of organizations benefit the most? What would you say, how small can the teams be? Is it for every startup that just has a first couple of employees? Is it an enterprise solution because there's tons of meetings happening? Where's the sweet spot, basically?
So before answering what type of companies, it's actually more for what kind of teams, what type of teams. So we focus we focus mainly on agile teams. The meetings that the meeting structures that we have built are mainly for agile ceremonies. So actually we're focusing on that audience. But if you ask me, I think who can benefit the most from Parabol is teams that work remotely or hybrid or remote and distributed. With remote work, meetings not only increased, but they also became harder to follow. I am at home, I have 7 meetings a day. I just have my camera off. I'm not following who's talking, what's happening. And when people started coming back to the office, it became even harder because people in the office, there's people in the office, there's people online. And it tends to be harder to have a conversation where everyone is participating. And with distributed teams, which is something that it's emerging more and more, it's even more challenging because we have time zones and people have to compromise, having a stand-up meeting at 10 p.m. if I live in Asia and I'm working with a company that also has teams in the US. And so we're actually aiming to solve that problem specifically for remote, hybrid, and remote distributed teams. Who benefits from that? It's actually which type of companies. It's actually every size. It's just a matter of how they work. Are they working as agile teams and they use the type of meetings that we have developed? And are they in office or fully remote or distributed or flexible? So I actually think it's for any company as long as they have remote workers. I just think they can benefit from Parabol.
That makes sense. Now, with such a wide user group, because obviously meetings are relevant in a lot of different companies, how do people learn about Parabol? What's sort of their buying journey looking like, or their user journey looking like? And how do they find you guys? What's sort of the key client acquisition channels that you guys are exploring?
This is my favorite topic. I could speak about this for ages.
You came to the right podcast.
So 75% of our traffic, around 75, 77% of our traffic, it's actually organic. It's something we're very proud of. But what excites me the most, and the reason why I'm so passionate about this, is because it's not just about them coming organically, but what are they searching in order to find us? Like majority of queries are like Scrum and Agile ceremonies, I mean, for obvious reasons, but also we have like team games and retrospective games and icebreaker questions and retrospectives, or better retrospective for remote teams. And the reason why I like this so much is because it's not people searching for more effective meetings or how to make my meetings not to run on time, but actually people wanting more team connection. And when you're remote, this is actually harder to achieve. So I actually love that when people are searching for games and team connection, that they find us and that they stay with us. I love that people have this concern, you know, that they want their team to connect more and not just be, you know, like machines to be more effective or efficient. So this is actually 75 to 77, 80% of our traffic is organic. We don't invest a lot in paid. We use paid mostly for like experimentation and learnings, to put something out there, see how it performs. But today it represents around 2 to 3% of our overall traffic.
Is there something that you've learned as a marketer, like building up that sort of, you know, organic inbound scenario? Is there, I mean, you mentioned this very specific intent behind the keywords. Anything else that you felt that was a very good learning in that journey?
Yes, the importance of content, especially because as a product marketer, I tend to be like super focused on conversions, right? We have a visitor, we have to make them convert. And I think like we're kind of obsessed with this word and conversion rate optimization. But what happens when you focus on content, it's that it's a longer game. And that's okay. You know, if you're providing value to users because they're coming to your blog and they're learning about better ways of doing stuff, and then after, I don't know, reading 2 or 3 pieces of content, they're signing up. I think it's a different approach, but what I like about this is that it also helps you put a message for people who are not necessarily problem aware in front of them, right? And what I've learned is that it's first that it's okay if not all of your users convert right away on your website. It's okay to have a longer game, and how important it is that in every interaction you're having, you're actually providing value to your users. Even if they're not your users, you know, even if they're just website visitors and they have not converted, that is fine. If you're adding value to them, not just because of brand awareness or, you know, or like to expose your product more, but because people are learning also from the interaction with your platform even before using it. Yeah, so I think it's a very different approach to what I personally was used to before, of, you know, like you need to have the conversions right away, and learning that the journey might have a longer step 0, and that's fine.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, you know, in preparation for the interview, I had a quick look into the different resources, and I think it's very great. You guys are providing, you know, planning poker resources, daily scrum, like for all the different sort of scenarios that people would need actual help to restructure it. You know, I was in Google myself, I was in Workday, like people, they want to make these meetings fun, right? They look for ways to engage people, and now they can find some answers. Very cool. Now, you talked about conversions a little bit. I mean, obviously the buyer's journey might be a bit longer, but conversions are in a way relevant. What have you learned is actually important? And maybe in a scenario like that you were describing, like, you know, what are methods, approaches, tools that you find are helpful in actually, you know, still being able to convert visitors on the page? Might not be their first visit, but, you know, what have you found to be helpful?
Well, for starters, I think learning what people are interested in. Like what we invest the most amount of time in is learning and understanding our audience. And I actually think this is every product marketer out there. It's their main focus. It's to learn about their audience. But yeah, what I mean here, it's also understanding what they value the most, even from our content, right? So I don't know if it's team connection, is it icebreakers? Is it retrospectives? Is it stand-up meetings? Like where are their pains? And we actually learn a lot from our content, because just the amount of people going to one or the other content already tells us what people value the most. So that's the first thing, learning a lot about what our users, what topics are our users or potential users interested in. When we learn that, we produce more content like that, and so on. Also, I think, and this is a journey where I'm at the moment, it's also learning a little bit, and this is more quantitative, I think. Our users, I don't know, they go to 3 content pieces before converting, or our users that go to 5 content pieces before converting are more likely to become sales qualifying leads. Things like this, it's what we've been learning and using to make sure that our conversions make sense, that we're not just adding value to people and never getting them to take the product. And the number 3 is that the way that we see our customer journey is, as I said before, are we adding value to our user, right? And what we've been trying to build here, it's like, how do we help our users to form a new habit of working, let's say, I don't know, better, or have more meaningful relationship with work and with meetings and with their teammates. And with that in mind, every time that we plan a strategy, every time that we plan something in our customer journey, we're asking ourselves, how is this adding value to our users? And how are we helping them achieve changing those habits of forming a more meaningful relationship with work? When we're doing that, first of all, we cut everything that it's very salesy. Because what we want is not people to just buy something without trying it, or get something they're not going to get value from. If I don't know, if you don't get value out of our product, we don't want you to use our product. We prefer you actually helping us shape our product to, tell us how we can make it better for you. But we don't want people to spend time or money in something that they're not getting value of. So when we decide, when we chose this path of how not only we provide more value, but also how do we take people to actually change, form this new habit of having a more meaningful relationship with work. Not only it's helping us to have more conversions because we're reaching more qualifying leads. But it's also helping us have a product that has a higher market fit, because we're also shaping the product, not only the marketing, to what our users are needing to actually shape these habits then.
Yep, makes sense. No, I think it's a well-rounded story of the journey. As we're slowly approaching the end of the interview, I would have some rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey a little bit better. You ready for those?
Yes.
What is the last book that you read?
Half of a Yellow Sun of Chimamanda.
Do you have a sentence of overview that people know what it's about?
It's a book about a civil war in Nigeria in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. It's a great book. It's told by the story of 3 different people experiencing the civil war. It's brilliant.
What's the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
We, in terms of marketing or in general?
Whatever comes to mind first, but can be general.
Okay, we are focused on changing the branding of meetings. Meetings don't have to suck.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, you have a magic wand, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role as a marketer?
More qualitative data for marketers. I don't know, I think there's this boundary that we have with qualitative data about our users and about our market. We are very focused on quantitative because that's easier to gather, but when it comes to qualitative, I would love to have a magic wand to be able to gather more qualitative data from our users and potential users.
And for the very last question, right? If we go back to the days, right, to university days, right? Universidad George Tadeo Lozano, I hope I said it the right way. Now you're heading out of formal education into the world of business. What's the one advice that you would give yourself for your journey?
As a professional in general. Oh, wow, that's deep. I would say, I mean, I studied marketing, and because marketing where I come from, it's so consumption focused. I came, I don't know, I was like wired to think that you need to convince people to buy, and not to create value and you know, and understanding and shaping the products. And, you know, I thought that marketing was not about the product. I thought that marketing was about the copy that you write to sell something. So I think the advice that I would give myself would be to focus and to study and to spend more time probably learning about the value of a product and the value of the audience and what the audience wants, and probably spend more time there than in the, I don't know, creative part of how to sell something.
That makes a lot of sense. Lorena, I want to thank you for taking the time here to be a guest on Passing Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Parabol, what's the one thing that they should remember?
That we are a tool for agile teams to run better meetings.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Passing Presents.